Jake was excited. It wasn't every day that he got to take his Lamborghini Huracan out for a spin. The bright orange sports car was a dream come true for him, something he had worked hard for since starting his tech company a few years ago. Today, he decided to stop by the local grocery store to pick up a few things. As he pulled into the parking lot, heads turned. The Lamborghini was loud, fast, and bright, something no one could miss. He parked carefully in a spot near the entrance. The sun was shining, and the car's shiny paint reflected the light, making it sparkle. Jake smiled to himself, proud of what he had achieved. He locked the doors, grabbed his shopping bag, and started walking towards the store. Just as he was about to enter, he noticed a woman standing nearby. She was staring right at his car with wide eyes, almost like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She was wearing sunglasses, and her expression looked a little strange. Part curious, part something else Jake couldn't figure out at first. Jake kept walking, but the woman took a few steps toward him and called out, "Excuse me." He stopped and turned. The woman was holding the hand of a small child, maybe around 4 or 5 years old. The child was quiet, looking up at the car with wide eyes, but not saying anything. "Is this your car?" she asked, pointing at the Lamborghini. "Yes," Jake replied politely. "I bought it a couple of years ago." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Wow, it's beautiful." "Thanks," Jake said, getting ready to continue on his way. But the woman wasn't done. She looked at him seriously. "How much would you sell it for?" Jake was surprised by the question. People rarely asked him that in public. Most were just curious or took pictures from a distance. This was different. "I'm not selling it," Jake said honestly. "It's not for sale." The woman's smile disappeared instantly. She frowned and said, "Come on, I just want to buy it. I need it." Jake raised his eyebrows. "Why do you need it?" She looked around to make sure no one else was listening, and then lowered her voice. "I'm a single mom, struggling to get by. My car broke down, and I need something reliable for my kid." Jake felt a little sorry for her. He looked at the small child again, who was now clutching the woman's hand tightly. "I'm sorry to hear that," Jake said softly. "But I'm not going to sell my car for cheap." The woman's face changed. She looked angry now. "I'm not asking for cheap," she said. "I'm asking you to sell it for just $1. Jake blinked in disbelief. $1? She nodded. "Yes, just $1. It's not fair that you have a car like this while people like me are struggling." Jake tried to stay calm. "It's my car. I worked hard for it. I can't just give it away." The woman's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand what people like me go through. You're just showing off." Jake was taken aback. He had never met someone so demanding before. "I'm not showing off. I'm just living my life." At this point, the woman's tone became sharper. "You should be ashamed of yourself. I can't believe you won't help a struggling mom." Jake shook his head. "I'm sorry, but I'm not selling my car for $1 or anything else." The woman stepped closer, her voice rising. "You're greedy. You don't care about anyone but yourself." People nearby started to notice the argument. Some looked curious, others uncomfortable. Jake took a deep breath and tried to walk away, but the woman wasn't done. She followed him, still talking loudly. "You're such a jerk. You think you're better than everyone else because of your car." Jake ignored her and kept walking toward the store entrance. He didn't want to make a scene. Suddenly, the woman pulled out her phone and started recording him saying, "Look at this guy, refusing to help a single mom in need." Jake stopped and turned. "Please don't film me," he said. She laughed. "Why? I'm just sharing the truth." Jake felt the situation getting worse by the second. He didn't want to argue in public, but now the woman was making a scene and involving her child. Some shoppers stopped to watch. One or two whispered to each other, wondering what was happening. Jake decided to stay calm. He put his phone away and tried to smile, hoping the woman would calm down. But she didn't. She kept yelling and recording, calling him names and saying he was selfish. Jake realized that this wasn't going to end quickly. The woman wasn't just upset about the car. She wanted something else. Attention, maybe. Or to make him look bad. Feeling uneasy, Jake looked around for help. But no one stepped in. Everyone was watching quietly. Then, without warning, the woman pulled out her phone again and made a call. Jake couldn't hear what she was saying, but her face looked determined. Jake hoped the call wouldn't cause more trouble. What would happen next? Would someone help him? Or would the situation get even worse? Absolutely. Here's an expanded, simple, and interesting 2,000-word explanation of Part 2, continuing the story. After the woman, now known to Jake as Karen, finished her phone call, the atmosphere around the parking lot grew tense. Jake didn't know exactly what she had said, but judging by her fierce expression, it was clear she was not going to let the situation die down quietly. Karen stood in front of Jake's Lamborghini, blocking his way. Her arms were crossed, and she looked like she was preparing for a battle. "You know," she said loudly, her voice filled with anger, "you think you're better than everyone else just because you have a fancy car. But you're wrong." Jake took a deep breath. He tried to explain, "Look, I'm just here to buy groceries. I don't want any trouble." But Karen wasn't interested in listening. She waved her phone around, showing the screen to anyone nearby. "I've been recording this man the whole time. He refused to sell me his Lamborghini for $1. $1! Can you believe that?" Some people nearby started murmuring. A few shook their heads, others looked shocked. A man waiting for his wife by the store entrance came closer and whispered to his friend, "That woman is crazy. Who asks for a Lamborghini for $1?" But Karen didn't care what anyone thought. She turned to her child, who had been quiet and a little scared the whole time, and said loudly, "See, honey? This is how some people treat others. They think they're better just because they have money." The child looked up at the car with wide eyes but didn't say a word. It was clear the child was confused, and maybe even a little scared by all the shouting. Jake watched all this quietly. He felt embarrassed but mostly frustrated. This had started as a simple day out, and now it was turning into a public spectacle. He wanted to leave, but Karen was making it impossible. She stepped even closer, her voice rising. "You don't care about anyone but yourself. You're just a greedy rich kid showing off. You don't understand what real people go through." Jake's heart sank. He wasn't a rich kid. He had worked hard for everything he had, sacrificing sleep, social life, and more to build his company and earn the money to buy the car. But Karen didn't care. She just saw the Lamborghini and made assumptions. "I'm sorry you feel that way," Jake said softly, trying to calm her down. "But I can't sell my car for $1. It doesn't make sense." Karen's eyes flashed with anger. "It's not about sense. It's about doing the right thing, helping people who need it." Jake shook his head. There are better ways to help people than demanding a car, but Karen wasn't listening. She started pacing back and forth, in front of the car, talking louder as more shoppers stopped to watch. One older woman, curious about the commotion, walked over and asked, "What's going on here?" Karen turned to her and said, "This man refuses to sell me his car for $1. Can you believe the nerve?" The older woman looked at Jake, then back at Karen, confused. Jake politely said, "It's my car, ma'am. I'm not selling it." The older woman nodded and moved away, shaking her head. As the crowd grew, some people pulled out their phones, recording the argument. Jake noticed a few people whispering to each other, some clearly taking Karen's side, others silently supporting him. The tension was rising quickly. Jake thought about going inside the store to get away, but Karen blocked his path again, yelling, "You can't just walk away from this. You need to face what you're doing." Jake sighed. He felt trapped and uncomfortable. He didn't want to be the center of attention, but he also didn't want to let Karen bully him. Suddenly, Karen's voice got even louder. She started saying things like, "People like you don't care if you hurt others. You just want to keep your fancy toys and ignore everyone else, her." Child, watching the scene, started to get upset. The child tugged on Karen's sleeve, but Karen didn't seem to notice. Jake felt sorry for the child. This wasn't the way a mother should act, he thought. Then, without warning, Karen's tone changed. She suddenly said to Jake, "You know what? I'm going to make sure you regret this." Jake froze. "What do you mean?" Karen smiled in a cold way. "I'm calling 911. I'm going to tell them you're threatening me and my child." Jake's eyes widened. "You can't do that. That's not true." Karen already had her phone out, fingers moving quickly on the screen. Jake took a step back, thinking fast. "Please, don't do this. There's no need for police." But Karen was already on the call, speaking loudly so everyone could hear. "Yes, I need to report a man who refuses to sell me his Lamborghini and is threatening me and my child." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. Threatening? He hadn't even raised his voice. People around started whispering, some shocked, some skeptical. Jake pulled out his own phone and started recording. He knew it was important to capture everything now, just in case things got worse. Karen saw this and shouted, "Stop filming me!" Jake ignored her. He kept recording everything. The way Karen kept yelling, the way she blocked his path, and the way she made the false 911 call. Minutes later, 2 police cars pulled into the parking lot. The officers jumped out and approached the scene quickly. Karen waved her phone and told the officers loudly, "This man refused to sell me his car for $1 and threatened me and my child." Jake held up his phone calmly. "I have video, proof that none of that is true." The officers began asking questions. They wanted to hear both sides. Karen repeated her story, trying to sound as convincing as possible. Jake calmly explained what had really happened. He showed the officers his phone, which had videos from the moment Karen first approached him. The officers also looked at the car's registration to confirm it belonged to Jake. Some shoppers nearby came forward and told the officers what they had seen. Most supported Jake's version of events. Karen started to get nervous as her story began to fall apart. The officers warned her about making false reports and told her she could face serious consequences. Karen's anger turned to frustration, but she didn't say much after that. Jake felt relieved but also exhausted. He couldn't believe how quickly a simple encounter had spiraled into something so dramatic. As the officers finished their investigation, the crowd slowly dispersed. Jake packed up his groceries and got back into his Lamborghini, still recording, to document everything. He drove away, thinking about how strange and stressful the day had become. Despite everything, Jake felt proud that he had stayed calm and handled the situation without losing his cool. He knew some people might try to twist the story, but he was confident that the truth would come out. That day at the grocery store parking lot was a strange reminder for Jake. Sometimes success and wealth can attract unwanted attention, and not everyone will be kind or fair. But with patience, calmness, and proof, he could protect himself from false accusations. As Jake drove off, he hoped Karen would learn a lesson too, that kindness and respect matter more than entitlement and anger. The sound of sirens cut through the afternoon calm like a sudden storm. Within minutes of Karen's 911 call, 2 police cars screeched to a stop right in the grocery store parking lot. Jake, standing by his Lamborghini, felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Relief because help had arrived. Anxiety because now the situation was going to become official and public. The 2 officers stepped out quickly, their badges gleaming in the sunlight. They looked serious, professional, ready to handle whatever situation awaited them. Karen, standing close to Jake, immediately approached the officers, phone still in her hand. "This man," Karen said loudly, pointing at Jake, "refused to sell me his Lamborghini for $1 and then threatened me and my child. I want him arrested." The officers exchanged a quick glance. One officer, a tall man with a calm voice, stepped forward and asked, "Ma'am, can you please explain exactly what happened?" Karen took a deep breath and launched into her story. She spoke confidently, repeating what she had said on the phone. How Jake had refused to sell his car. How he was rude and threatening. How she feared for her safety and her child's. The other officer, a woman with sharp eyes, turned to Jake. "Sir, we want to hear your side as well." Jake nodded and began calmly explaining everything from the start. The parking lot, the conversation, Karen's demand to buy his Lamborghini for just $1, his refusal, and then how she started recording him and making a scene. Jake said, "I have no idea why she called 911 or made those false claims. I wasn't threatening anyone. I was polite but firm." The female officer asked, "Do you have any proof?" Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Yes, I recorded most of the conversation because I felt uncomfortable. Also, my car has a dash cam, and I can show you the video from that too." The officers looked interested. The male officer nodded. "That will help us a lot." Karen, noticing the officer's attention to Jake's phone, suddenly grew defensive. "She's just trying to make herself look innocent. That phone is fake evidence." Jake remained calm and started playing the videos. The first clip showed Karen approaching him, asking about the car, then her demand for $1. The video clearly showed Jake politely refusing and Karen's frustration growing. It also captured Karen loudly accusing Jake of being greedy and refusing to help a struggling single mom. As the officers watched, the surrounding crowd began paying closer attention, whispering among themselves. Some faces showed disbelief. How could someone make such a strange demand and then call the police over it? After the videos ended, the female officer asked some of the bystanders who had been watching. Several people came forward and told what they saw. They said Karen was the one causing trouble, and that Jake was calm and respectful the entire time. Karen's face fell. Her confidence seemed to melt as the officers questioned her further. They asked if she really believed Jake had threatened her or stolen her vehicle. "No," she admitted reluctantly. "I was upset. I just wanted to make him pay attention." The male officer shook his head. "Ma'am, making a false report to the police is a serious offense." Karen's eyes darted, nervously. She said, "I didn't mean to cause any harm." The female officer replied, "Regardless, you could face fines or other consequences for this." Jake felt a strange mix of emotions, relief that the truth was coming out, but also pity for Karen. He realized she was probably frustrated and struggling with more than just this moment. The officers took notes and explained what would happen next. Karen was given a formal warning about filing a false police report and told that if she did it again, she could face serious penalties. Jake thanked the officers for their professionalism and patience. As the police finished their work, the crowd began to disperse. Some people came up to Jake to apologize for the disturbance and compliment how calmly he handled the situation. Jake smiled and said, "Thank you. It was a strange day, but I'm glad it's over." Before leaving, Jake turned on his phone camera again and made a short video. He talked about the experience, warning others to stay calm and always record interactions in case things get out of hand. He posted the video online later that day, and it quickly gained thousands of views. People praised Jake for his calmness and called out Karen's unreasonable behavior. Though the incident was stressful, Jake realized it taught him a valuable lesson. Sometimes people expect too much and try to take advantage of kindness, but staying calm and having proof on your side can protect you from false accusations. As Jake drove away in his Lamborghini, he reflected on how unpredictable life could be. A simple grocery store trip had turned into a public drama, but he was glad he had stayed strong and honest. He hoped others watching the story unfold would learn to be patient and respectful, no matter how frustrating a situation might get. And maybe, just maybe, Karen would learn that asking for things fairly and respecting other people's boundaries is the right way to live. After the police officers had listened to both Jake and Karen, and after watching the videos Jake had recorded, things started to become clearer. The officers were able to see the truth behind the strange encounter that had shocked everyone in the grocery store parking lot. Jake felt a little more relaxed now. He knew the officers were fair and wanted to find out exactly what had happened. He looked around and saw a few people still watching quietly, curious about what the police would decide. The female officer asked Karen to explain again why she had called 911. Karen looked down at her feet, clearly feeling uncomfortable. "I thought he was being mean to me," she said quietly, "and I was scared." The male officer raised an eyebrow. "Scared? Because he refused to sell you his car for $1? Karen nodded. "Yes. And because he was rude." The officers exchanged looks. They had heard enough. The police officer in charge spoke firmly but kindly. "Ma'am, we have video evidence and witness statements that tell a different story." He showed Karen some of the videos Jake had recorded, including the moment when she first approached Jake and asked to buy the car for $1. The videos clearly showed Jake being polite and calm throughout the conversation. Karen's face turned red as the officer explained, "Jake did not threaten you or your child, and he has full ownership of the car. We also spoke to witnesses who saw what really happened." Several people nearby nodded in agreement. One woman said, "I was here the whole time." Jake was calm, and Karen was the one getting angry and making a scene. Another man added, "I even heard Karen say she wanted the car for $1, which is not normal." Karen's story began to fall apart. She looked down, embarrassed. The officers reminded her, "Making false claims like this is illegal. It wastes police time and can cause serious trouble." Karen finally admitted, "I didn't mean to lie. I just wanted to get something." The officers explained the importance of honesty, especially in situations involving the police. They told her that if she made another false report, she could be arrested or fined. Jake felt sympathy for Karen. He understood that she might be going through hard times, but her actions had been unfair and harmful. After the police finished their investigation, they thanked Jake for being patient and cooperative. They told him he was free to go and that they would be filing a report about the incident. As Jake packed up his things to leave, a few people came over to talk to him. Some said they admired how calm he had been. Others apologized that he had to go through such a strange experience. Jake smiled and thanked them. He realized that sometimes standing up for yourself in a difficult situation is important, even if it causes a little trouble. Before leaving, Jake posted a video online explaining what had happened. His video quickly gained attention because many people found the story unbelievable but also appreciated how calmly Jake handled everything. Many viewers wrote supportive comments, praising Jake for his kindness and patience. Others criticized Karen for her behavior, saying it was unfair and wrong to make false accusations. Jake hoped the video would help others learn that being calm and collecting proof is the best way to deal with difficult people. He also hoped Karen would think twice before causing trouble like this again. The experience taught Jake that no matter how successful you are, sometimes people will challenge you unfairly. But with honesty, calmness, and the truth on your side, you can handle even the most surprising situations. As Jake drove away in his Lamborghini, he felt proud of himself. He had faced a difficult moment, stood his ground, and come out stronger. And though the day had been strange and stressful, he knew this story would one day become a lesson, not just for him, but for everyone who heard it. After the police officers left and the crowd had mostly dispersed, Jake stood for a moment by his Lamborghini, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Relief, because the truth had been revealed. Frustration, because of the unnecessary trouble caused by Karen's false accusations. But also a deep sense of gratitude for having handled the situation calmly. As Jake thought back over the entire day, he realized how something so small and simple, a woman wanting to buy his car for $1, had escalated into a public scene involving police and strangers. It was almost unbelievable. His phone buzzed with messages from friends and family who had seen the video he posted online. The video showed everything: Karen's demand, Jake's calm refusal, the false 911 call, and the police investigation. Many people sent supportive messages. Some told Jake how impressed they were by his patience and dignity during the chaos. Others said they were shocked by Karen's behavior. Jake smiled at the outpouring of support, but knew the experience had also taught him some important lessons about people and life. For one, he understood that not everyone sees things the same way. Karen had clearly been going through her own struggles, and maybe she felt desperate or angry, but that didn't excuse making false accusations or causing public trouble. Jake realized how important it was to stay calm and collected, no matter how difficult the situation. If he had lost his temper or shouted back, things could have gotten much worse. He also learned how valuable it is to have proof, like video recordings, to protect yourself when others might try to twist the truth. In the days that followed, Jake's video continued to gain attention online. People shared it across social media, and it sparked many conversations about respect, honesty, and how to handle conflict. Some people said Karen should apologize for her actions. Others wondered if she might face legal consequences for filing a false police report. Jake wasn't sure what would happen to Karen, but he hoped she would learn from the experience and make better choices in the future. Despite the chaos, Jake's business and personal life continued as usual. He found himself more cautious about where he parked his Lamborghini and who he talked to about it. He also started thinking about ways to help others who might be in difficult situations, people like Karen, without letting himself get dragged into drama. One idea he had was to donate to local charities that help single parents and families in need. He realized that sometimes people act out because they feel helpless or ignored. Helping in a positive way felt much better than arguing or getting angry. Jake's story also reached some local news stations who wanted to interview him about the strange incident. Jake agreed, wanting to share his message about kindness, patience, and standing up for yourself with the truth. During the interviews, Jake emphasized how important it is to be respectful to others, even when they don't treat you the same way. He hoped his calm approach would inspire others to handle difficult moments with dignity. He also spoke about the dangers of false accusations and how they can hurt real people. The media coverage helped Jake's message spread even further. Many people said they admired his maturity and grace under pressure. Meanwhile, Karen kept a low profile. There were rumors that she received a warning from the police and that she might have had to attend some kind of community service or counseling. Jake didn't hold any bitterness towards her. He believed everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow. He thought about how easy it is to judge others quickly, but how much harder it is to truly understand their struggles. Over time, the story became less of a dramatic headline and more of a lesson shared by people online and in conversations. Jake's Lamborghini returned to being just a car, no longer a symbol of conflict but a reminder of a day he handled something unexpected with strength. Looking back, Jake felt proud. Proud not because he had the luxury car, but because he stayed calm, honest, and kind in a tough situation. He knew that in life, there will always be challenges and misunderstandings, but the way you respond to those moments makes all the difference. And so, life went on. Jake continued his work, his hobbies, and his daily routines, a little wiser and more prepared for whatever surprises might come his way. The incident with Karen remained a story he would tell sometimes, a story with a surprising beginning, a tense middle, and a peaceful ending. Most importantly, it was a story about patience, respect, and the power of truth. If you want, I can help create follow-up stories or explore other angles too. How does this final part sound to you?